wide open. Oh my goodness. Hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase. And I have my Cookie Man here with me this evening. You know, Cookie Man's not always here, but we are blessed to have him here with us on tonight.
That's right. Look at Knicks ain't playing. That's
yes. Well, true that. If the Knicks were playing, it'd be an entirely different story altogether. So, babe, what are we talking about tonight?
Black men and mental health. That is the topic. And with that, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. In honor of this, we will focus on this topic, Black men and mental health.
Yep.
You know, and that's ironic today that that would be our topic with the recent events that I was following with a young man by the name of Jordan Neely. Maybe many of you have heard him or heard about the recent events. Jordan Neely is a young brother who had been, if anyone knows the New York subway system,
yes, unfortunately, we do.
On the New York trains. His skit has been Michael Jackson. Anything Michael Jackson he has done on the trains. But recently, he has suffered with mental health.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of that mental health issue, him being on the train and, you know, people described it as ranting and raving, even though from what as I've been following it, he was not assaultive to anyone. But, you know, things be on the train, people got scared. In this particular incident, he was choked to death by a white man. 15 minutes, he was held in a chokehold until his demise. So, like I said, it's ironic that we're talking about mental health because that was his issue, mental health.
But I don't want you to, we would be remiss if you didn't also mention who helped in the murder of that young man.
I guess
you can't just focus on the white folk. You got to talk about it all.
He was held in a chokehold by a white man, and from what I've seen and heard, African-American man did hold his wrist down while it was going on. So you have two people that should be charged in his demise.
Yeah. And the whole thing is, it's all about mental health. Because you see people, and look, we grew up in Brooklyn, riding the subway. We saw a lot of that as young people, as children and adults. And I think sometimes in New York, you become so jaded.
Right.
You see individuals like that, and you just don't even, after a while, it becomes white noise in the background, and you don't even notice.
No, you just look.
You don't notice that anymore.
You look, you laugh like crazy, and you're going about your day.
And you go on, and we go on about our business. But, you know, mental health, being a mental health professional myself, that's something that I give a lot of thought to, especially now that I am in the profession, because mental health is vitally, it's important to our whole being. It's important to our physical health. It's important to our spiritual health. It's important to our whole being. So this month being Mental Health Awareness Month, we definitely wanted to focus on that. And I want to encourage those of you, first of all, thank you for tuning in. And I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. If you're watching for the very first time and you're not already a subscriber, I would encourage you to do so. I also have to say that the individuals who were to be our guests this evening, something has come up, and our guests are not with us this evening, but Frankie and I are here. Oh, here's Alvin. Hold on, let me bring on brother Alvin. But anywho, we are going to tackle this subject this evening. And one of our guests is here, brother Alvin Smith, and I'm going to bring him on R-A-T now.
Right now.
Hey, Alvin. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay. I don't think Alvin can hear me. Alvin, can you hear me? Let me text him real quick. I don't think he can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but I don't think you can hear me.
I can't hear you.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take Alvin off for a minute. until he can get his audio, whatever the audio issues are. Let me know whenever you can hear me, Alvin. I'm gonna put you in the wait. Well, he can't hear me. I'm gonna put him in the waiting room. But whenever his audio is fixed, he will still be able to hear me. I want to start by talking about some of the things that led me to the counseling profession, because as a counselor, mental health, we're talking about that. First of all, I did have a 41-year career as a registered nurse, and that obviously is a helping profession, just as counseling is. And as I was coming to the end of my career in nursing, I felt strongly led by God to go into the counseling profession. And one of the things that solidified it for me is having had a lot of mental health issues myself, having dealt with a lot of trauma. I needed a whole lot of help. I needed help personally. Frank and I needed help as a couple. And the thing for me is, I want to be the type of counselor that I wish I had had back then, back when I was 30 or 40 or even 50, in my 50s, I should say. So that's the thing that was attractive to me with the counseling profession. And I want to encourage you who are listening, if you have comments, if you have questions as we go along, please feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, let me see if Alvin can hear me now. Can you hear me now, bro? Alvin, his audio was still jacked up. He still can't hear me. I don't know what the problem is. All right, I'm gonna put him back in the waiting room.
Can you text him?
Let me see. No, I can do that. I think.
I can't.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Woo! Hallelujah. There we go.
You
All
can't hear
right.
me?
I can hear you well. So before we get started, Frank, you want to read Alvin's bio?
That's the 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
He's still testing.
No, he's just double checking.
All right, okay.
Go ahead, read
Can you hear
Alvin's
me
bio.
now?
Yes. We're going to read your bio, brother. Go ahead, baby.
Okay. Alvin Smith earned his master's degree in Christian counseling and substance abuse through Grand Canyon University, and a master's in marriage and family therapy. Alvin is.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, babe. We can hear you. All right, go ahead. We're reading your bio. You can hear me, right?
Alvin is a former social worker who worked with clients struggling with substance abuse, as well as teen boys to young adults. Oh, we got all kinds of stuff going on today.
I know. Bear with us, please. I gotta silence my phone. Go ahead,
to young adults within the state of New Jersey. At Mending Hearts Behavioral Health and Family Services, Alvin provides counseling for individuals, couples, and families of diverse backgrounds. Alvin is the founder of Dare to Be a Dreamer program for youth ages 13 through 18, which was inspired and birthed based on his life story. Alvin also is a mentor for the Pythagoreans, growing and developing young boys ages 7 to 18 personally and socially, physically, and spiritually. Alvin loves helping others find their purpose using a variety of frameworks, including biblical principles and scriptures upon request. His favorite quote is, "When God gives you a dream, the only person who can stop your dream is you. Live on purpose." Alvin is a retired vet with 26 years of service. He has been married for 27 years, has 4 children, and 11 grandchildren.
Okay, and we just lost Alvin. I think Alvin was having some technical issues. So I want Cookie Man, share your experience with mental health?
Okay. I got a taste of what it was to be around mental health individuals. Actually, early on, my first foray into that system was when I was working at oh my goodness, let me think for a minute. Adult Skill Training Center
In Brooklyn.
In
Brooklyn adult
working
skills
with
training.
youth who had all kind of mental issues. They had to come to us. It was a special school that focused on the issues. Some was anger, abuse. And throughout my life, I worked at various hospitals in the security field. And
as a corrections officer,
right,
a lot of mental health up in prison.
And what kind of drew me to them, because they would come in angry, wanting to fight and everything else. But I don't know what it was, a sixth sense, being blessed. I was able to see past the assaultive behaviors that was going on. And once you were able to get someone kind of isolated, so to speak, where you could sit down and let them vent and calm, you were able to find out what was going on underneath and behind. A lot of times it was abuse, a lot of abuse. What physical and substance abuse alike.
And sexual abuse.
Right. I didn't see a lot of that. So for me, it became a very challenging aspect of the jobs I was doing, but very rewarding when I would see them out in the field, out in the street after they left the hospital or after they got discharged from someplace else. And you can see with the help of medication, thank goodness, that they were a totally different person. And I really started to enjoy working with mental health men. And most of my people were men or young kids.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's it.
That was it.
So, there have been a lot of studies that have been done about demographics when it comes to individuals who seek mental health care. And some studies have indicated that Black men are underrepresented among those who seek mental health care. And there are several opinions about that. There's some factors that contribute to this. One is historical. And because historically within the African American community, people didn't go to counselors.
We don't go to counselors for nothing. Your counselor was your mother, your grandmother, something like that. You didn't go outside the house and air the family business.
That's right. Or if you were part of a faith community, sometimes your pastor may have been. So historically, within the African American community, people, regardless of gender, did not seek mental health care. It was taboo. And if you did go, you certainly didn't talk about it. You didn't tell anybody about it, because the first impression that people would get, they would think that you're crazy.
And weak.
Or weak. So that is one reason I think is historical. I think another contributing factor is the whole idea of manhood, manliness, masculinity, and all that plays a part into it. What do you think, babe?
Absolutely. I mean, on a smaller scale, us culturally, and even when I was growing up, it was frowned upon if you cried.
Right.
That was a sign of weakness for man. You had to keep that in and bottle up, be tough,
you had to be
and
tough.
keep it moving.
Yeah. There were no conversations about emotions, about feelings. Well, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
There were some conversations about feelings, and the conversation went something like this. If you cry, I'm going to give you something to cry for. That's pretty much how the conversations would go when it came to feelings. And being emotional, having conversations that dealt with emotions, or talk about how you feel, or whether you were sad or whether you were lonely, that was absolutely frowned upon. It didn't happen in our homes. And I want to ask you, what was your experience? If you are an African American, what's been your experience within your home, within your family of origin and growing up? What was that like for you in terms of whether emotions were even part of a conversation, or were there any discussions regarding mental health at all? I'm just curious to know what your experience has been. So I think the whole masculinity piece is one of the main reasons why we don't see, hey, Vanessa. I think that's one of the main reasons why we don't see, hey, Hammy. We don't see Black men or men of color, because I think
true.
Vanessa, she and her husband, they're Puerto Rican. I think the same thing applies to all people of color.
I would agree, yeah.
But people of color in general, but men more particular. And even with my own experience in mental health care, the clients that we see are overwhelmingly female. And most of the male clients that we see are there in couples counseling. And 99.9% of them are there because the wife is the one.
Yeah. We ain't coming on our own. Listen, we come on our own because we've been kicking and screaming in the background and finally just like, okay. We're not going on our own.
Yeah. So even my own experience, I'm trying to think of all of my clients. I think I have, and I think this is kind of unusual, but I have two male clients of color who are there individually. All the other rest, they are there for couples counseling. So I think Black men tend to shy away from.
We definitely do. You know, speaking of my own self, it took me a lot of years to understand that it was okay to show that emotion.
Yeah.
In my case, you know, I might cry to drop a hat. Something I might watch. Not talking about TV shows, just emotions within the family dynamics. That it was okay to say I'm feeling something. I can remember through a lot of years in marriage, Val would ask me, "What's going on?" Nothing. Because of the way I grew up and the men I was around. Yeah. Our go-to thing was nothing's wrong. I'm going to be all right, and just try to forge ahead. And that was a heavy burden to carry.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah.
Why are you looking at me like that? Yeah. I ain't gonna cry.
Yeah, but I would imagine so, that it is a heavy burden to carry. So then the question is, what do you do with all those emotions?
Good. For me, like I said, I got to the point where I was able to just let it out, whatever it was for. If it was a happy moment, it's okay. Even now, as I think about it, I can hear you ask me, Frank, what's really going on? Right. It might take 2 or 3 proddings, even now, right, to say exactly why I'm hurting. Yeah. And it's okay to be hurt, and there's nothing wrong. Yeah. Again, thinking about I'm a big, strong man. Nothing supposed to hurt me, but that's not true. It's far from being true. Yeah. And when you think about that question, what do you do with all those emotions? Because see, people think that men don't have emotions. They tend to say, "That's right, Ham. It's okay. Real men cry. You're absolutely right. That's my son." See, he knows that's how we raised the boy. So he's a man now. I know. That's mama talking. But people sometimes say, "Oh, women are emotional and men are logical and they don't have emotions." Yes, men do have emotions. The thing is, if they are not expressing those emotions, what do they do with all of those emotions? And I believe that's one of the reasons behind some of the aggressive behaviors that men exhibit, because they have all these emotions swirling around inside of these bodies and they don't know what to do with these emotions. So it comes out in aggression. It comes out with an anger. It comes out when somebody accidentally steps on your toe. Yeah, mess up my clean white sneakers. Exactly. And now you want to fight. So it's not that men don't have the emotions. It's that overwhelmingly and historically, they have been discouraged from identifying what those emotions are, naming them, and expressing them in a positive way. What do you think about that, babe? I can concur with that, and I think about Black men as a whole. Even if we seek help, professional help somewhere else, again, we get labeled at being aggressive, mean, crazy, and we get sent on our way. Yeah. And that's the problem.
And the underlying issues are not addressed.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Then we're out on the street, unfortunately, like this young brother, Jordan Neely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he had sought mental health professions,
Yeah.
but obviously had been out there for a while. And maybe it's been like so many people are out there, trying to survive. They go into hospitals and after, they get kicked out. The hospital went to bed or whatever the reason. They refuse to help or whatever. And they end up back on the street. Yeah. And, they're out on the trains or whatever, just yelling and screaming, and people get scared.
And that begs the question, how accessible is mental health care within the African American community? I think most of us can agree that there is a disparity when it comes to physical health care within the African American community. And if that's the case, it stands to reason that the same thing will apply to mental health care as well. Mm-hmm. Okay. Liz was saying, now that you've gone and had counseling, what advice would you give to someone who was kicking and screaming about going? That's for you, babe, because I didn't kick and scream. I did a little bit. But.
What you try not to do is be, what's what I'm going to look for? Demanding. Hold on. Giving people ultimatums. You want to be a listening voice, a kind heart, and hope that person can be guided to their mental health, because you can't force anyone to do anything.
Right.
Anything. But you can be a listening person, a kind person, try to direct them to the help they need.
But let's say it's someone who, in your estimation, there's this young brother who could benefit from some mental health care. What are some of the things you would say to him? How would you go about being that voice of reason and the one who encourages him?
I guess the only support I would try to give is to let them know that I'm there, and maybe if they needed me to go with them, because that going alone can be a daunting task, very fearful. All I can say is, whatever your name is, you know what? Why don't we go together?
Yeah.
Maybe I can be sitting in the back. I might not be able to sit in your room with you, but them. I'm outside the door.
Right.
And continue to try to do that until they build up enough strength and courage to possibly go on their own. And always keep in touch. Phone nowadays, you got the phone, text, and everything else.
You got all that, yeah. But that's good to offer to go with them, and I think that really will work well with brothers. If the individual who was encouraging them is someone for whom they have respect, someone that they look up to, sort of like a mentor-mentee relationship, or even just a close friendship. And if they say, brother, listen, I went and helped me, and this is how it helped me. And I think it could do the same thing for you, potentially. And like you said, if you want, I'll even go with you. I'll go with you. We'll make the appointment. I'll take and drive them there, or ride the bus or subway, or whatever the means of transportation is. Okay, I'm gonna see if I could bring Alvin back on. Let's see if it's gonna work this time. All right, Alvin, can you hear me?
Yes, Satan is out there. He's trying to be busy tonight. So, are we good now?
Yes, we are good. I just want to read the comment that my sister Jackie made. And she said, generally, boys are told not to show emotions, but the emotions will come out one way or another. That's right, sis. You are absolutely right. It will come out. It's just a matter of how it's going to come out. And that has only your name up there because it was supposed to be only you. But just in case y'all know, it's not just Frank Chase. It's Valerie Mason Chase as well. Okay? Just so y'all know. So we read your bio, Alvin. So I want to ask you, what was it that drew you to the counseling profession?
As for me, it's a lot of things. Growing up in North Philly, coming from a two household parent household. But one thing that you realize is there's a lot, good and bad inside the families. You don't know that you're going through things. And for me, when I was younger, I guess I had to be about 13, 14. My mom sent me to see somebody, a psychiatrist, and I had a bad experience. had a bad experience. Didn't do anything for me. But it wasn't until like after everything that happened and me traveling in the military, unbeknownst to me, I was able to help other, troops and stuff like that. You talking to them, then through the church, and and it was something that one of my friends told me. He's like, yo, you always talking to people. He said, why don't you do this for a living? And I never thought about it, working in corrections and stuff like that. It was like, I didn't think about that. So I wound up going back to school and learned so much. And that's when it dawned on me that it's not about me. And it's I can be able to be a help to somebody else. And understanding who I am now, and now it helps me to give back. So doing this, I thought preaching would be my ministry, but counseling became my ministry. It doesn't people think like they have in front of people, preaching the gospel, but God calls us into the field. And it's different tasks that we have. And as I stated, Genesis 37, which is my that's my dream center, Dare to be a Dreamer. Yeah. Because it's with Joseph's story that I became. Because so that's understanding what, my story almost stopped because I was about to stop it. But God had already placed the dream in me. I just didn't know what it was. So counseling is my avenue.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You didn't know what the dream was, but God helped you figure it out.
Exactly.
So Frank and I, we were discussing what we believe are some of the reasons that Black men are underrepresented among those who seek mental health care. What do you see as some of the factors that contribute to Black men being underrepresented in those who seek mental health care?
I would put it towards we live in a systemic race, and we are money's an issue. It's not in the neighborhoods, right? I think I heard you say that, parents, we grew up in that era, and I'm talking about from the 60s, maybe 70s on back. Grew up in the era where everything was just like, yo, you okay? Get up and, your bootstraps and keep it pushing. You'll be all right. And, even in the military at the time when I was in, it was no matter what you went through, it was like, yo, next man up.
That's right. You got to deal with it.
You just had to deal with it. So there's a lot of that. There's some stigma to it. Yes. The perception of what it's going to look like if I go. So there's a lot that can contribute to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's been your personal experience with Black men in mental health care?
Since I'm the only Black man in my office.
Absolutely. And listen, you are highly requested, because the men who do come to seek counseling, by and large, want a male counselor.
Right. It, so that says a lot. One, because, the one thing that they say is, I know that you want to understand.
Right.
Two is, you look like me. We see this even in the schools. Even in the schools, they're underrepresented in the school system because they don't have enough Black male counselors to identify with the youth, with the young males, young females that's there. and it does put a burden on everybody. But for me, I love it because, like I said, this is my ministry. I'm starting to understand it more and more. As it relates for me, I'm able to be honest with them. I'm able to, I can, there's something I can do that somebody that doesn't look like me, I can do different. I can talk to them in their own language. I can meet them where they're at.
Yes.
Coming from my counterpart, somebody that's white, you know, they might not be able to do that because they're going to be judged a little bit differently. They might not be taken as serious or taken as a judgment or put down. So for me, it gives me a leg up with my own people as I relate to them. You know, so I have to be able to relate to each and every client that I meet. White, black, Hispanic, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's good. I know when I have it, let me rephrase that. During my years at Cairn University, one of the things that the professors always frowned upon and encouraged us against was self-disclosure. Now, personally, I really don't pay that no mind. Because I think within our community, some level of self-disclosure is not only helpful, but it's expected. So I'm wondering, how do you feel? What are your thoughts about self-disclosure and sharing some of yourself and your personal experience with your clients?
Glad you asked that. I want to say, by me working inside the youth prison, working with young black males, one of the things they taught me when I first got there was, how do you expect for me to give you information where I don't know you and you don't know me? So me sharing about my, but always looking at the boundaries and not crossing over those boundary lines. Because you don't want to overshare. You're not trying to be friends,
right?
But what you're trying to do is give them the help that they need. So for me, when clients first meet with me, the first thing I do is I diffuse the whole situation and I open up about myself. You know, I can share about, hey, I'm from Philadelphia. You know, I am married. I have I have 11 kids. And by the way, I've been married for 29 years now, not 27.
Oh, not 27. So, okay.
29 years as yeah. So but letting them know about that and you'll find that diffuses the clients where they could feel more relaxed. They could feel like they'd be able to talk to you instead of they're just an object that's coming to somebody that's just going to listen and not say a word.
Yeah, that's good. I feel exactly the same way. I think some level of self-disclosure enhances the connection and that therapeutic alliance that we seek with our clients, because without that, counseling is not going to be as effective.
Right.
Let me read you this question, Alvin. A recent article by Nisheri, say her last name again? Kayode in the National Alliance on Mental Health indicated that suicide is the third leading cause of death for Black men ages 15 to 24. How would you speak to that?
Well, there's a number of factors that may contribute to high rates of suicide on Black men, including systemic racism, poverty. You know, when we look at limited access to mental health in the neighborhoods, as we referred to earlier, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at in the neighborhoods, and when they don't have anybody that they can talk to, or like again that looks like them.
Right.
They don't have no resources to go back to, so it causes pressure to conform to societal, to the ramifications of how they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing. So all these things are factors that kick in, as this young lady was talking about. Is hard because it's when we look at our own parents don't have all the answers all the time.
Right.
They're getting younger and stuff like that. So, the church, is it all right if I talk about the church for a minute?
You better.
Because
if you don't, I will.
The church is just, most churches are just coming on board and even talk about mental health.
Right.
And when you look at the Bible, you see mental health all through the Bible, throughout the Bible. David, everything that he had to go through. If you look at Christ, so there's a lot of things, but without the resources to combat what somebody is feeling, it makes it hard on the individual. It makes it hard, and by the time they get to us, it's like we're doing damage control.
Right.
Doing damage control.
And this particular age group, that age group 15 to 24,
right?
That's a very pivotal time in the life of a young man. 15 to 24, just trying to figure out who they are as a man, trying to figure out their role, trying to figure out their sexuality. So all of those things are kind of converging on them during that age 15 to 24. And without having someone to really talk to, or someone to guide them or to mentor them through that leads to the anxiety, the severe depression, and all that. And those things, if not treated properly, absolutely will lead to suicide.
Right.
No, if I can go back for a minute, when Alvin was talking about when you have male clients coming to you, especially young brothers coming to you, the importance of sharing. Working with youth in the prison system, it became so important to let them know you were human. You weren't there as a dictatorial or robot, just like in counseling. If you're not willing to share a little bit of something, it just seems like you're there as a robot and people are not really listening. But when they can see, hey, he has some of the same or had some of the same issues I had or I'm having, they're more inclined to listen and open up. Because normally the first couple of sessions, the person's more since listening to the client, to the counselor. They're not willing to talk yet because they don't know if they should trust you. They don't know who you are, so they're not willing to say anything. They're more apt to be listening. But once you can show someone that there's a human side of you, and hey, I had some of the same issues you're going through now, and I was able to overcome them because of A, B, and C.
Yeah, and when they can see your humanity, I think that is a huge factor. And you're not just this sterile individual that's there as someone who just knows it all and has it all together and has never dealt with any issues. When your humanity can show through, I think that can help with the connection. And I think Black men especially need to see that. They need to experience that. They need to feel that, because otherwise that guard is going to go up, because hey, they brothers. They got to represent. They got to put forth this front. So, yeah. So Glennis has a comment. Glennis
That's
says,
a good point. And understand this. I apologize.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Alvin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I done lost my point. What was the question?
no, I'm sorry. No, I wanted to read a comment that
No,
one of the viewers made. Yeah, so she said stigma is a big
go
factor
ahead.
for
Go ahead and read that.
people in our community from getting the help they need. They do not equate mental health with physical health, and they are directly related. Glennis, my sister, you are absolutely right. Mental health and physical health are intertwined. It's hard to be physically healthy if you're not mentally healthy. Definitely. And it's hard to be mentally healthy when you're not physically healthy. That's the way God created our bodies. Everything works in conjunction. So yeah, Glennis, you're absolutely right.
Everything.
Go ahead.
Yes. It was.
Go ahead.
It was something that Joe was saying earlier, but I forgot my point. I forgot my point though, so I had to go back to it. So
okay,
I apologize for that. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, that's all right. Next time, just write it down. Yeah. I think we're having a little 1 or 2 second delay in our transmission, so that could be a part of it. So viewers, I apologize for that. As you all know, sometimes technology has a mind of its own, and it just kind of does its own thing. And so those of you who are watching, again, if you have questions and absolutely if you have comments, I welcome you. I encourage you to put it in the chat, okay? Because we want this to be as interactive as possible. If you've ever given any thought to Black men and mental health, if you have any questions about Black men and mental health, if you are a Black man, if you know a Black man, if you love a Black man, if you're in a relationship with a Black man, you may have some questions or comments or concerns, and I encourage you to share with us. So, Alvin, what do you think are some of the ways that we can maybe engage Black men in mental health treatment? And I'm wondering if there are any specific treatment modalities that may be more appealing to Black men.
One thing is, and I think this is what I wanted to say, when you were talking about, men trying to talk to other, young men trying to get the help they need. This is why it's so important that men start trusting men.
Yes.
We have a friend of mine. He has a men's group, and they meet on a monthly basis. And this was started at one of the churches that I belong to, Change Church, where they had men's group, and we called it Man's Cave. And at the time, it was just so compelling because it wasn't centered around the Bible.
Yes.
So much as to getting those things off your chest that you need to talk about. And and when you have age differences within your group, it helps because now you have range where you can go to the elderly and identify to the young, and the young can. It's called bridging the gap.
Right.
Women have been doing that for years. For years. But as for his men, it was like, no, we're not doing that. Right. But I would encourage more men to start trusting some brothers. It's like, like Jesus said, you don't have to give your whole heart. You can give piece by piece because you got to trust. And it's a trust factor that goes into it. Right. So a lot of that would help as far as especially with young people, because as they see other men doing it, younger people will get involved in doing it.
Yes. That's good. And I think that Man Cave is an example of providing a safe space for men to share those parts of themselves
Right.
where they don't feel safe or comfortable enough to share out in the world because of all the things that they're dealing with in their life. And they don't always feel safe enough to let that guard down and to share from their heart with things that are going on. And I think that is so, so very important, whether it's our churches, whether it's community groups, whether it's whatever. I think that there need to be more safe spaces for men in general and Black men in particular to be able to share. And maybe even some men can get together on their own and start a community group where they invite the younger brothers in.
They're out there. They're out there, but it's just a matter of you trying to find it. And now as it relates to the modalities, as to like which platform I use the most, I use various. It all depends on the individual. Because understand, I try to meet them where they're at. So I might combine a couple things, instead of just using CBT and different things like that. I can become very creative and do a role play and have them role play what it looks like for them. And so they can, because the whole idea is for them to be able to see what's going on for themselves.
Yeah,
that's the whole idea, because it has to come from them. I can't tell you what to do. What worked for me is not going to work for you. I can give you the tools and you can come up with the solution.
Right.
And you're going to figure out what's going to be the best way for you. And if that's going back to your parents and talking to your parents, going back talking to your family, going back talking to your friends, as to like what hurt you, what helped you, whatever it's going to take, because the whole idea is you have to get it out your system. You have to identify what's going on within you to get it out of you.
Yeah.
Like Jesus said, you got to leave it here. And that's my whole premise is for them to leave it in that room and don't take it with you.
That's right. Leave it there.
Leave it right here. Don't take it with you.
So, Alvin.
Yes.
How has images of violence and police brutality impacted the mental health of Black men? Yeah, that's like a stick of dynamite. Yeah. I almost want to answer that myself. Go ahead, bro.
And you can.
Okay. I've seen it. Like I said, I grew up in Norfolk, so I came up in the Rizzo era. So I seen a lot of negative things that had took place. I left Philadelphia when I was 16. Went to Texas in the 70s, late 70s. I seen racism in the forefront. Blood. So a lot of it has changed my worldview as to how to perceive things. Most people they have to live within it. I was able to escape from it. So I thought, in a sense, going to a place where it's open and accepted, it kind of it took a lot of sting out of it for me. And I'm just talking about for myself, because a person that when you're dealing with racism and you're dealing with stigmatism and you're dealing with systemic race in other states that's known to be racist, like we know Florida is that way, we know Texas can be that way, Georgia, places in the South, the West. It kind of, you have to be able to have, I would hate to say it, but a strong mental, and then you have to have Martin Luther King, our four fathers that dealt with racism. They, they're the ones who set the tone, as far as like learning how to deal with it and not let it affect you, but you learning to overcome.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I get you. Lovey, how would you answer that?
Well, for me, as a young kid, I didn't see a lot of this police brutality and stuff that was going on. We knew that it was happening.
Oh, yeah.
But with the advent of these social media, Facebook and everything else, you get to see it as if you're almost there. The violence and the brutality. And for me, there are times it stresses me out. Yeah. It makes me angry to the point sometimes my wife, Valerie, has to say, Frank,
stop it.
Listen, you don't need to watch that because you're going to go outside and you're going to find yourself in a situation that you're going to react based on what has happened and what has happened in the past. Because I know the things that have happened in the past, but now I'm seeing it almost every day. The brutality that goes on. And if you got a mental health problem, oh my goodness, it's almost inevitable. Right. Well, you know what? Let me take that. It's almost inevitable just being a black man that you're going to see and maybe experience this violence and this brutality. And for me, it makes me feel weak some days I watch it. Like I said, weak, angry, and it's almost I hear myself almost like I dare a MFer to say so-and-so when I go out in the street because I'm looking for that. I'm looking to be questioned. I'm looking to be challenged. I like to think when I'm going through all these things in my head, I know what to say and I know how I'm going to handle it. But again, we see the outcomes. Even the most docile of man who tries to handle the situation can find his physical being on the end of a boot or a stick or something like that. Right. So for me, it just makes me angry. It makes me weak. And it's almost like I want to get seeking some sort of revenge.
Yeah. And that is why I say to him, babe, I think you've watched this enough. Right. Because I can see the stress coming over him as watching these things. And I believe that because we are not unique. Okay. There are things that humans experience universally. So I say to myself, if my husband is watching this and it's impacting him that way, then most probably it's affecting other black men the very same way. And that's why I have to tell him sometimes, babe, don't watch that so much. I can see the stress. I can see the anger. And sometimes I fear for him when he goes outside. And I just pray that, first of all, that there's enough time between the time he watches that and the time he actually leaves home to give himself a time to decompress, de-escalate. Let's talk about it. Talk about what it is you're feeling. And we sit and we have conversations about it because I don't want him to keep all that inside. And I just pray that other black men who see that sort of thing and are experiencing what my husband is experiencing also will have someone with whom they can converse and share their emotions and their feelings and just let it all out before they walk out that door. Because a lot of times out that door is it's already not safe. But if you're out there and you're stressed and you're angry and you're pissed off and you're waiting for someone to challenge you, it is exponentially unsafe.
Right. Social media
is the devil.
Social media, yes. And, it's unfortunate since the pandemic. That's all we had to see. It was like, we constantly looked at TV. We had nothing else to look at. And as we came out of the pandemic, everything just started ramping up. It's gotten worse.
Yeah.
It's gotten worse. And, you know, as Frank stated, it's like when you do turn it on, the first thing you hear about it is the killings. You know, and our government is so divided, you know, that it's like one side is like, hey, we don't see anything wrong. But Malcolm said it best. He said, when the chicken comes home to roost, and you get to see it firsthand, then you have another story. And isn't it sad because it took for it to hit them, drugs to hit them before they said it was a problem. It's going to be the same thing with the guns. It's going to be the same thing with the killing that's going on and the different things. Until it hits them, and, you know, and I shouldn't be talking like this, but it's the truth.
It is what it is, like the kids say.
But that's the only time they'll be able to see it for themselves. And it's sad because we're the ones that have to deal with it in our own neighborhoods. We have to look, we have to get up each morning and we have to talk to our kids about, like, hey, this is what you don't do.
Right.
No, when you have to give them additional driving lessons when you get pulled over. Like, but why are you getting pulled over? So it is sad, and it's a lot, and as it relates back to the mental health, our young people have to deal with this more so than us.
You're right about that, because we have to have the talk with our children, and especially with our sons when they get to be a certain age. You know, my sons are now, my oldest boy is 39 and Jono is 38. And I still sometimes, especially my oldest son, have a talk with him. Listen, baby, if you get pulled over, and to me, at that point, the why doesn't matter. Don't say anything. Don't talk back. Keep your hands visible. Don't make any quick moves. And he say, "Ma, are you kidding me?" And I said, "Baby, please. This is what I need you to do, because I just want you to make it home alive. I want you to make it home alive. That is the number one goal. All the other stuff we can deal with later. But if you don't make it home alive, there's a whole lot of other stuff that we're going to have to be dealing with." My nephew Rock said he agrees with my husband. His Uncle Frank said, yeah, he wish an MFer would. And I get,
but that's the attitude that we have to carry in the sad, you know. You know, I'm gonna use my wife for an example, because, you know, she's not from the city. She's from, you know, around this area in the suburbs. And so, you know, we always have these debates as to, like, life, and it's like she's seen a little bit different than I seen it. And those are some of the things that we have to always, you know, the conversations that we have. And it's sad though, you know. We shouldn't have to have those conversations. The way I see things, the way she sees things is two different viewpoints.
But then
for a man is going to see it different.
Absolutely. But then I ask, yes, we should not have to have those conversations, but what if we don't? If I had not had those conversations with my sons, and there was an extreme negative outcome, I would always say to myself, man, I should have had that conversation with him, because maybe he didn't know how to conduct himself when he was approached by the police. And Frank is over here saying,
because you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You can have the talk, you can do all the right things, and things still happen. So,
yes, but they are less likely to happen if you just comply. And I know that's hard for a brother. But as the women who love you, we need you to come home alive. That's it. I just want you to come home alive. You can come home with a broke leg. You could get locked up. You could do all that. I just want you to come home
I
alive.
can come home alive, be all tubed up and on respirators and everything else. I'm not saying. I mean, that's again because as we're having that talk again, I'm just feeling those emotions kind of ran up for all the things I've been exposed to and seeing people comply. You just should have complied and see what happened with them. So I'm on the mindset. Look, I'm gonna try to comply, but I wish you would.
No, okay.
Right.
I want to read
Okay, go ahead.
Belinda's comment. And I absolutely agree. She said African American men experience a unique challenge in our society because they are under scrutiny within their communities, their households, and other cultures. Belinda, that's right on, sis.
That's the way. That's the way.
Very unique.
Those are debates.
Experience. A very unique experience that cannot be compared to the experience of the race of any other men, except possibly Hispanic men, because their experience is very similar to Black men, and the challenges that are faced. What do you say, babe?
No. The last part I want to get off that, again, because I have taken this mentality even to my workplace. We talk about police brutality and stuff, but for me, it extended even beyond that because I'd be at work still feeling that anchor on my neck. I got to say something, or I'm hoping someone come out of their face crooked so I can remind them and everything else I done just heard or seen. And that was a challenge. So when you go back to how what does that do for a Black man, that stuff, it's like a big ship carrier throwing that anchor in the water.
Right.
It just weighs on you. It weighs on you.
I'm sure that it does. And full transparency, I have had to talk him off the ledge many times. He called me from work. Yeah. He'll call me from work. Val, so and so and so and so and so just happened. And I said, okay, babe, take a breath. Calm down. Tell me. Talk to me. Tell me what happened. Because I'd rather he get that steam off his shoulders talking to me. Rather than someone at work that could affect his employment. Because you have to keep that in mind as well. So I think those things definitely impact the mental and emotional well-being of Black men, because having to figure out how to navigate that. It's not an easy thing to do. And we as women can never understand what it is like to walk in the shoes of a Black man. And I don't think it's something that should be taken for granted. And we can compare our experience to theirs, because as far as I'm concerned, there's just no comparison.
I would say this too, that the younger generation, I think they may have it just a little bit harder, but I like the way they stand up for themselves now. They're going out and creating their own wealth now. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. It all depends on how you want to look at it. But understanding the importance of Black-owned wealth, that's important. So getting out of the stigma that we have to work for somebody, but creating our own wealth, I think that's important as well. But
I agree.
But the other part is this: is like we have to find our own peace. What does peace look like for us?
Right. So what would be any final words or any words of encouragement, not just to Black men, but also to their partners, the women or men who love them?
Right. For the women is just be able to listen. The same thing y'all tell us to do with y'all is to listen. That's all that we're asking. It's like sometimes we just want you to hear us. We just need for you to hear us, because it's not easy sometimes. And in the way the society is now, because the roles have shifted. Women are making more money. They're getting better. They're getting the better jobs, right? And for the men, now a lot of them are at home, and or doing millennial jobs where it's like not as important, and you have to, and and for the men have to keep their own mental peace for when their wife come home, and sometimes it's hard, but for men, it's when we get out there and we talking to each other, be honest, but we have to build up that trust, because trust is not given, it's earned.
Right.
We have to earn our own trust, because sometimes we do our own our damage to ourselves too.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
And my nephew Rock, I just want to read his comment. He said he honestly believes that he is a man who is not, in caps, willing to live on his knees for any system. I hear you, Rock, but I got to tell you, as your auntie who loves you, I'd rather see you on your knees and alive than standing up and not breathing. And that's all I'm gonna say, Frank. I know what you're gonna say.
No, you
Go
don't.
ahead.
I just wanted that when Alvin said that, listen, sometimes when we have these discussions, or I'm angry, I'm talking to Val, I'm not looking for any corrective measures, nothing.
Right.
I'm just looking for, like you said, a nod of the head that you're hearing what I'm saying, and that's it. Nothing else at that moment matters. Maybe you can come back to me 10 minutes later and say, well, babe, I heard you. Right. Could I offer this suggestion?
Right.
And I'm open to that, but there have been times when all I want to do is vent.
Get off your chest.
I'm in the house, I want to vent. Because I got home. There have been times I've been in other places, especially at work, more so at work, because I would see things happen via social media, and then I'd be at work and I'm exposed to the people that look like the people that did the violence and whatnot. And I'm, like I said, I'm in such a bad mental state. I'm just hoping that you disrespect me. I'm still thinking smart. I might not do it first, but I'm hoping you disrespect me. That gives me the reason now.
So now you can retaliate.
So I can retaliate. So just like you said, just hear me when I'm angry. Don't try to stifle me.
Okay, baby. I heard you. I heard you, baby.
That's good. That's
good.
But
he's absolutely right. And I have to say that I don't always just listen, because sometimes I listen, but I'm also trying to offer some suggestions. Yeah. But it's not always what Frank needs in that moment. But he'll tell me. Right. He'll tell me, Val, I don't want to hear that right now. I just need to talk. And that's when I know to just zip my lip and sit and listen to my husband and rub that bald head, and stroke his back and just let him say what it is he needs to say.
Have you ever seen that cartoon where the man is coming home and he has the weight of the world on his back, and he goes and the queen, she goes and lifts the world off his back. That's important, and that's important for us.
Yes,
because sometimes that's what it feels like. It's like you're going out there, we're doing what we have to do, and sometimes you have to. And I don't mean it like this, but you got to eat feces sometimes so you can come home, because you got to take care of the kids. You got to keep a roof over your head, and you're coming home. And it's like, yo, I'd really rather just knock this person out and just be done with it. But because I know the consequences, because there's always a repercussion.
Right.
There's always going to be something that's going to that can happen in because of that action, that one action that we took. And then when we come home, only thing we need for you to do is just take that world off our back.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. I think that's a great metaphor for relationships in general, but especially those when you're dealing with the brother. So Alvin, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you. And those who are watching, if you have not already subscribed to Marriage Beyond the Breach YouTube channel. You can also find us on Instagram, Marriage Beyond the Breach. We won't be here next week because next weekend is Mama's Day, and I'm a mama. So we won't be here next week, but the week after, in keeping with this being Mental Health Awareness Month, we're going to address the topic of Black women and mental health. We're going to be talking about that in 2 weeks. So I would appreciate it if you would join us with your comments, with your questions. And as always, I appreciate the support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you. And we will see you next time.